Hey guys, what's up? Today I will be reviewing what I believe is safe to say is the most anticipated and hyped up death metal album of 2019, and dare I say, one of the most anticipated albums in all of music of 2019. Today I will be reviewing the mighty Hidden History of the Human Race by the band Blood Incantation. Now, this album has been out for some time now, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and the reason I waited so long to review this awesome album was because I knew I was going to have to let it sink in. The band's previous album, Starspawn, is not a very lengthy album. It's about 33 minutes, would be my guess, around that time. But there's just so much dense music, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to understand or thoroughly review this album after only one or two listens. So I pre ordered this album back in September and I got it, I think, a week before its release date. So I've been listening to it pretty consistently, and I think I have a fairly decent grasp on all the music, even though I definitely don't have all the riffs memorized yet, which I know I will be listening to this a lot more throughout the years and will. So, Blood Incantation in the Hidden History of the Human Race really continues what Starspawn started. They get more progressive, but also more brutal. And it's really not like they're focusing specifically on the progressive elements or the brutal elements. They really bring all the elements of this awesome music they've created together to make an end product that is just so epic and grand. Now, when I first put this album in, my expectations were just monumentally high because I was such a huge fan of Starspawn. I'm a huge fan of the EP they've done before that. So I was really anticipating this release, and my expectations were just off the charts. And when I heard it, first listen, I absolutely loved it. But I will say it didn't quite hit that just unreal level of expectations, which is saying a lot. And this album is by no means bad or falling short, but my expectations were just extremely high. And I will say the first listen set my expectations a little lower than I thought, but as I listened more, that just kept climbing and will keep climbing because this album is one that definitely gets better each time you listen to it. The album starts off with the first track called Slave Species of the Gods, which is an absolutely monumental, crushing track. This track was released as a single prior to before the album. And I know they've been playing it live on tour for, I think, maybe even a year, a couple of years. And this is probably my second favorite track on the album. It just has this crushing breakdown riff that they kind of build up throughout the song and then really just like break it down at the end of the song. And it's so heavy, so crushing. This track is kind of what you'd expect from Blood Incantation, which is why I think they released it as a single. They were kind of releasing the songs that people could predict, not in a bad way. Just it's a pretty straightforward song. It's what you'd expect from Blood Incantation. The lyrics, cosmic, the music, cosmic atmosphere is really incredible on this song. It's just pummeling and it's pretty straightforward, but I think it's one of the best songs on the album. The leads in this song just are ripping. Both the guitars, back and forth, solos, very epic. Now, the second song on here, the Giza Power Plant. Now, I knew when this song came on, this was going to be something different that we've never heard from Blood Incantation. I did hear the songs live, almost all of them, when I saw them on tour with Immolation, and hearing them live was absolutely awesome. But needless to say, I could not grasp the music or much of the riffs live just because, I only heard them once. But the Giza Power Plant is for sure my favorite song on this album. It starts off, you can hear the Obscura era Gorguts influence right away with the harmonics and the awesome intro riff. And this song starts off fast and real pummeling. And then a couple minutes in, there's a pause, and they really just break this section down into one of the most cool and unique things I've ever heard in death metal. There's this harmonic minor Egyptian riff going on, and the drums are just playing this slow groove. Isaac Falk is one of my favorite drummers, and the way he's accenting the snare and the toms just create this absolute unreal Middle Eastern ancient atmosphere. And the riff is just so cool. There's a lot of percussion going on, gong, finger cymbals, and if you want an image to go with how this section would picture or sound like, right there. It's just this absolutely atmospheric and ethereal section, and I absolutely think it is the highlight of this album. Now, there's a lot of clean vocals in this section too, which are executed amazingly, and it's just so grand and atmospheric and godly, and it just seems like they're summoning these powers that are beyond human comprehension. And now that song goes on to, it picks back up, does a lot more leads, and easily my favorite song on the album. And track 3 is called Inner Paths to Outer Space. And this is an instrumental track that kind of serves as a transition between the first half of the album and the second half of the album. And I think it's done really well. It's got a lot of trippy, if you will, guitar parts going on, a lot of clean guitars. And there's actually a guest vocal appearance by Antti Bowman of Demolic, which is really awesome. You get that super low, gurgling vocal delivery in that song, which is cool. And that song is really just a bridge to the fourth song, which is an epic 18-minute closer called, let's see if I can remember the whole song name without looking. Nope. Awakening from the dream of existence, the multi-dimensional nature of our reality, mirror of the soul. And wow, is this song an epic closer. This thing is 18 minutes of just non-stop riffs. And I've heard kind of mixed opinions on the song. I've heard people say they think it drags on a little bit too long, but I would disagree. By no means does this song feel like 18 minutes. And this is written by the drummer, Isaac, who also plays guitar, and I think that's cool when the drummer writes a lot of the songs. And that song is just incredible. It's 18 minutes, and it encompasses a bunch of different sections. It's a pretty heavy-hitting song, and then the end features a really, really cool, clean guitar part that's really atmospheric and just serves as a final ending to this unreal album. Now, I will say, in the song, people have said they wish Blood Incantation maybe either split up the tracks or just use more ideas, more songs, instead of putting them all into one song for an 18-minute closer. That being said, I do wish this album was longer. I find myself wanting one more song at the end, but I think that's good because who wants an album that drags on too long? I'd rather have them stop and me end up wanting more. So overall, I think this song was a huge success. Like I said, it doesn't feel like 18 minutes. There's a bunch of riffs to comprehend, and the sections that it takes you through builds really nicely. Also in that song specifically, there's a part that reminds me a lot of Individual Thought Patterns, Area Death. And yeah, that song's really good. There's a cool riff that they do a harmonic slide, like you take the pick and you string it or you pull it down the strings. And that's really cool. I think that song just encompasses a lot of cool and new ideas that Blood Incantation is really what I would guess they'd be taking that more into effect in the future. So I think that song serves as something that Blood Incantation might experiment more with down the road. And I'm absolutely fine with that. Now, I do want to compare this album to Starspawn. I think it is safe to say, in my opinion, that I prefer this album to Starspawn, although I will say the first track on Starspawn, Vitrification of Blood Part 1, I think is still the best Blood Incantation song and is still better than any of the songs on this album. That's just my thoughts. I know a lot of people would beg to differ, but overall, this album is phenomenal. I think as a whole and as a final end product, this album passes Starspawn because it is just so grand, so atmospheric, so many creative ideas just getting put together. And to rate this album out of 10, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And I consider myself a pretty hard critique when it comes to rating albums. So I hold this album very highly. I cannot wait for what Blood Incantation has in store next, although I know it might be a while. But either way, I will eagerly await the next Blood Incantation material. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.